Hello and welcome back to Internet Music Blog. Finally, welcome back to Internet Music Blog. My name is Rowan and I want to welcome you to our very first label spotlight. We have been damn quiet recently. I think our last video was somewhere in January. Sorry about that. We stocked up some gear now with a better microphone. The camera is still not the best and the lighting is still crap, but yay, we're back with a new video. So what is this label spotlight going to be like? When talking about label spotlight, I primarily choose to talk about recent releases of labels I enjoy a lot. So this new format is going to be primarily about the releases and the bands and not the history of the label itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick recent releases I enjoyed and I'm going to talk about those releases, especially also about the formats of those releases on the label I choose to present. And first of all, ushering in this new format, we're going to choose a label that I enjoy a lot. We're going to talk about Lower Class Kids Records, and if you've been a follower of our blog recently, you probably know that label because you know that it's obviously the label of blog author and blog friend Nino. And I really I enjoyed the label even before I got to know Nino. As a matter of fact, me enjoying this label also led to writing a label introduction, which consists of also smaller reviews and an interview with Nino that got me in touch with him and eventually led to the fact of him joining the team. I'm very happy to start off this format talking about the releases of Lower Class Kids Records recently that I enjoyed a lot. First of all, in starting off, we're going to talk about Bas Rotten from Portugal and their latest release, Search, that was brought to us on these very nice orange tape cases. So Search is the second release and full-length debut after a demo from 2017. Bas Rotten have already been touring in Europe a lot when it was still possible. So what you get on this release is a mixture of several genres. You have hardcore, you have grindcore, a slight amount of death metal, crust, and also very important thrash metal influences as well. So the major production on this release primarily is oriented at hardcore. So you get a hardcore raw punk production with a sound that focuses more on hardcore towards grindcore. However, the vocals also switch between hardcore, grindcore, and a little power violence, classy vocals. At some points, even slightly death metal vocals as well. I mean, this is just fluent. On the guitars, you have classy hardcore sequences, grindcore sequences. However, the major spotlight on the guitars are, on the one hand, those thrash metal sequences where you have very nice thrash riffs that are spicing up the entire release. And apart from that, also classy neo-crust melodies, so riff melodies that also spice up the entire sound on this release. You get fierce and aggressive, forward-moving hardcore, grindcore on this release with sometimes very funny and also very fitting snippets between the tracks. This is definitely a release that you shouldn't miss in 2021. The next band we're going to talk about pretty much somewhat became something of a blog friend already. We're talking about Lifetaker and their EP Pit Viper. So Lifetaker is a band from Germany, from Dortmund and surroundings, to be more precise. This band gained my attention when I've seen them play live with Cult Leader and Color Guns, I think somewhat 2 years ago, which was a damn nice show. And after that, of course, especially with this with their full-length debut Night Intruder, that was also brought to us via Lower Class Kids Records on tape. Pit Viper, however, an EP that came out last year in December, I guess, was brought to us on these very nice bluish somewhat, I'm terrible at colors, tape. And again, you get this fierce and dissonant death metal, death grind, grindcore mixture. The vocals are still just on point, ranging between different genres of extreme metal. And however, on this EP, you also get the idea that Lifetaker, apart from showing that they still can just spit out music naturally, you get the idea that especially focusing on the slower parts was also something that was taking place in this release. So you have something that was also present on Night Intruder, talking about those slower parts, that I also recently compared to Jesus Piece as well, that are more prominent on this release, next to, of course, a lot of in-your-face, sweeping away everything parts. And apart from that, also some noise influences that especially pop up at the end of the release. You get some sequences where you also have the drums playing along with punk drums as well, being followed with this dissonant Lifetaker sound, which sounds like a weird version of raw punk. And all in all, you get a lot of influences that are probably also interesting to follow regarding upcoming releases as well. So next up, we have a band from Phoenix, USA. We're going to talk about Skin Ticket. Skin Ticket gained my attention with their previous EP, Pure Fucking Chaos, which is pretty much also what you're going to expect on this EP. That was also brought to us via Lower Class Kids record. This was very harsh sounding death metal, hardcore hybrid, slight amounts of Slipknot. If you're a Slipknot fan, you might spot some of that. Slipknot fans of you might probably also spot the name illusion. We're not going to talk about that release, though. We're going to talk about the full-length debut, Homicidal Ideations, that came out this year and was brought out also via Lower Class Kids Records. And just look at these swirly tapes. This was just a limited amount of swirly tapes. You also have, just to say, regular tapes. They're also damn nice. However, talking about this release, I enjoy Pure Fucking Chaos a lot, so it was just a no-brainer to get that swirly cases that you always get on Lower Class, mostly get on Lower Class Kids records. So Skin Ticket is playing a hybrid of death metal and hardcore, somewhere right in the middle between those two genres. You have politically charged lyrics, very politically charged lyrics, so you need to read the lyrics as well, or listen closely. You have death metal, harsh death metal vocals. You have mid-tempo sound that is primarily focusing on mosh parts. However, you also have some faster parts as well, and you get straight into your face death metal, hardcore mixture sound that is coming up a lot recently. However, Skin Ticket is playing a very characteristic sound. Definitely listen into this album as well. Next up, we have a band from California that already gained attention with their demo from 2019. We're talking about Scalp. This is very whitish. You can see that. Scalp and their full-length debut, Domestic Extremity. And again, you were able to get these nice swirly tapes via Lower Class Kids records. This is just damn brilliant. I think they were called somewhat candy tapes or something like that. This is just a very nice format for this release. So talking about the band, As I just said, we have a band from California. This is again somewhat moving in between death metal and hardcore. However, I think the hardcore traits are a little further in the forefront, and especially the influences of grindcore on this release. So you get a mixture again of death metal, grindcore, and you have very, very technical drumming on this release as well. You have politically charged lyrics as well. So again, politics is very important to this release, just as I already mentioned when talking about the Skin Ticket release. You have vocals that range from raw punk towards death metal and everything in between. I think this is just one factor that makes this release just so damn great. And apart from that, also drums that move somewhere between slow and moshing parts towards very fast and aggressive grindcore parts, and especially also playing along with different styles of unusual drum playing patterns that also come along on this release. You have fierce and aggressive punk sound, and you also have guitars that support the entire sound, either by especially also omitting to play during the mosh parts, and apart from that, of course, also just punching hardcore death metal sound right in your face. The next release we're going to talk about is Love Will Drown the Nest by All Love. My French is terrible. This was also brought to us on, again, very nice swirly tape version, next to, of course, also a regular tape version. This is Ohio raw punk that also came along already with a demo from 2018, and is now back with yet another EP. And on this release, you get a mixture of, or something again, merging different genres, ranging from raw punk, which is I think the major take, however also being influenced by power violence, as well as also slightly grindcore amounts that can be spotted here. This release, I think, or in my opinion, this release is very striking because of especially the strong production, and also the anthemic, catchy sound that is that you can hear on this EP. When taking a look at the description of this release on the Lower Class Kids record site, you get a comparison to Trash Talk, and I think this is also a very fitting comparison. However, the take on the raw punk hardcore combination All Love is playing is of course different from this. It's a little more characteristic, especially because of the catchiness that you can hear on this release, that is coming from the anthemic choruses, as well as also the repetitive playstyle at some parts. Apart from that, you get blast beats and in-your-face sequences as well, and a very, very strong raw punk release. The next release we're going to talk about is Deaftrap's same titled album. That was brought to us on these very nice black tape shells with the print. And when talking about this release, you should definitely take your time and listen a little closer into this release, because when I first listened into this same title album, at the beginning I thought, or I felt that this was comparable to the rest of the releases on Lower Class Kids records that are moving somewhere in this raw punk, hardcore, death metal combination. However, there is definitely a very different character trait that can be spotted on this release, because Deaftrap is not playing mere hardcore death metal combination. There is a huge amount of sludge music also going on in this release. So getting a little deeper into the album, you get to know that there are slow sequences popping up. So you have these slower, not doom slow, but sludge slow sequences. You have this dirty production, and especially on the last track of this album, you get to know the band playing a very interesting combination of hardcore and sludge tone, and also taking a full breath on this longest track that shows what this band is capable of. So what you get is a combination of raw punk and catchy raw punk sequences combined with hardcore tone, and apart from that, always jumping into those slower, sludgy sequences, and then coming back again to faster and more aggressive punk parts, which is just a very nice back and forth between those two genres. And of course also just throwing in sounds of different genres apart from these two as well. Apart from the releases I already talked about, I also want to continue with two releases that were not yet released on Lower Class Kids Records, because the release date is this month. And first up, I want to talk about Drill Sergeant and their upcoming album, Vile App. So Drill Sergeant is a Philadelphia hardcore band that already gained attention with their demo, The Cosmic Leech. Playing hardcore, moving towards grindcore, and also showcasing influences of power violence. So what you get here is a huge amount of energy on this release. Drill Sergeant is able to convey a damn load of energy that just makes you also interested in seeing this band live at a show, playing raw punk, moving towards grindcore and power violence. I think more power violence than grindcore, and especially the production on Vile App is very interesting, because I think the bass drum and the bass, so the lower end production of this release, also manages to speed up as soon as you move towards blast beat sequences. So when the bass kicks in, you are just hurried through this release. However, when moving towards those raw punk sequences, when it's all a little slowed down and the bass drum and the bass is a little slower, you get the production sound of a hardcore release. So you feel as if you are not only jumping between hardcore and power violence and grindcore music-wise, but also the production switching whenever you jump from a hardcore sequence towards a power violence sequence. The energy, especially when regarding the vocals on this album, is so damn strong, conveying a very classy, very also 80s like furious sound of hardcore. The last release I want to talk about today is Borf's same titled full-length debut. It is also going to be released in June. This album kicks off with a boom bap beat, and after a few seconds you expect some New York hardcore to kick off. However, when this boom bap beat finishes and you are pushed into the album, you are confronted with very furious, very aggressive grindcore power violence mixture with very harsh vocals, slightly distorted vocals, dissonant riffing, drums that are just blasting away everything. And as an extra on top of this entire sound, You have riffs that carry features of early 2000 metalcore sound, which also brings this this damn catchiness to this release as well. Apart from those riffs, you also have sequences where the drums slow down a little that are also very memorable. On top of that, you also have a very organic way to speed up and slow down on this release. So especially when you switch between mid-tempo parts and the predominant high-tempo parts, speeding up and slowing down is not, when comparing, for example, to other releases, this process is often just within a second. However, Borf manages to speed up and slow down quite organically throughout a little longer period, which is just a few seconds. However, this also brings along a very different sound in this release, and it's also very catchy. Combined with the rest of this absolutely chaotic sound, this is a release that you should definitely check out this year. So as you can see, the major force from Low Class Kids Records with these recent releases comes from the combination of power violence, grindcore, slight death metal aspects, and raw punk. If you enjoy any of those genres, or if you enjoy hybrids of those genres, which is I think the fact that this is most present on releases of Lower Class Kids Records, you should definitely also dive into the back catalog of the entire label, because these are genres that you can find on, at least to some extent, on almost all of the releases of this label, which is something I like a lot. So if you enjoy some of the bands, you know that you can dive deeper into the catalog, and you are able to find some more bands as well. If you enjoyed any of those releases, or if you enjoyed the description of any of those releases, you can just click into the info box, and you are going to find the Bandcamp links to all of those releases. So if you want to listen closer, or if you know something and want to re-listen it, feel free to just go ahead, click on the Bandcamp link, support the music, maybe leave a comment if you liked something especially, and of course, if you like something a lot, just buy the record, support the underground, and stay safe.